Welcome, all you sports fans. It is great to be with you today over an internet, not in the same place, not at the same time, but together nonetheless. How does that happen? I don't know. It's science, it's above my head, technology,
I thought you were going to say the spirit,
the
but yeah,
spirit.
science. Yeah,
Yeah, sure, spirit outside of time. So
yeah,
he could be here and there and everywhere.
coming together, coming together.
Coming together. Yeah, coming together like a fish, like the spirit fish,
Like an
going
instant,
going
like
against the flow. That was a handshake I used to have in youth group, or maybe it was college. Go against the flow. We were pretty cool. We were at the top of.
still cool, still cool.
I don't know. I was, but I'm getting grumpy and my jokes aren't as funny. They're more depressing than anything these days. That's
And you've got a breathing machine so you can sleep at night.
And I got a CPAP machine so I can sleep at night. Sometimes my back hurts. When I fall down, people don't laugh. They're more concerned.
Yeah.
Then they think it's funny. This is such is life.
It's all working out, all working out.
All working out. You know what? Right in the middle of this recording, I'm going to close that cabinet. Hold on.
For those of you who are wondering, Derek has switched offices.
I planned on doing that earlier and then I forgot. I'm back at my old office, everyone. Yeah. We've got a new pastor coming in the next couple of weeks. So I've started the transition back. Yeah, it's like the sixth office move or something since I've been here.
So you've been in Duncan for 3 years and you've moved offices six
You
times.
know, I think it's four this
Oh,
August. I moved out here in 2018.
okay. There you go.
So I had a year before the pandemic.
Yeah.
I had 2 years of the pandemic, and now I'm here. So, yeah.
You had a little bit of everything.
And
what's been your favorite? What's been your favorite there?
Ooh.
Were you pre-pandemic, during pandemic, or post-pandemic? What's been the highlight?
There was a sweet spot just before the pandemic,
Hmm.
when I was doing youth, and I had dismantled the youth group and I was building it back up with a stronger foundation, and our junior youth was going well, and our senior youth was starting to take off. And that was a really good time right in there. And then the panini hit. So right about there, and then right at the beginning of the pandemic when we were all, at home, we couldn't do anything. I really liked that. It was a nice little break. I know some people lose their minds about that and stuff, but I could wake up, I do a little bit of work, some emails and stuff, and then I can go for a walk. I went hiking. I could do whatever, got some exercise. I could take naps all the time, watch shows. It was a dream.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people had hard times with work and stuff, so I understand not everyone's experience was mine, but my job was secure and I was able to do a lot of stuff. I just like the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, I was kind of tired and stuff, so I just ate and watched TV and like gained 20 pounds, and then I spent the rest of it like I should go for walks and do stuff. So I went and worked out and got it down. But yeah, it was quite funny.
There you go.
Like the dollar store, like they got those gummies. I love gummies. It is my Achilles heel. I put them in the freezer so they're cold and like kind of hard. You can like suck on them and chew them a little bit. Take a little longer. I do that with chocolate bars too.
Slow you down a bit. Slow you down.
Yeah. I mean, not enough because I was eating a lot, but a little bit.
Yeah. You gotta have enough in the freezer to keep it going. enough to keep it on.
Yeah, but it was like the first 2 weeks I'd go to the dollar store and spend like $25 on like $1 bags of candy and some drinks and chips and stuff. And I'm like, this will last me the whole week. And then a day and a half later, I'm like, I gotta go get more. It's like it's in the house and I'm bored. I'm gonna munch.
I've definitely noticed that about myself, like particularly since Zarya is like boredom. The first thing that I think about is food, as if like when I'm bored, I'm hungry, which obviously isn't always the truth. But and then as you say, you get kind of the cheap foods at your disposal, and it's not about quality. You know, just fill in the time, fill in the space. So if anybody wants to support us by sending us gummies, you know, our addresses will be available after the show.
Gummies, also known as edibles. Those are accepted as well.
Except you can't ship edibles to the UK. Just FYI.
Well, I think we can figure out a way to make it happen. I've seen enough like drug movies where they can do like whole planes full of marijuana and stuff from like the US to Colombia and cocaine and stuff. I think we can put a couple of gummy bears in like the lining of a suitcase, something that they'll. And then
as long as they're not going to, you know, if they catch it, they're not going after the person they're being shipped to.
True.
Give it a try.
True. Yeah.
Excellent.
Anyway, that if you were expecting that as our intro, good job, because I certainly wasn't.
Because you closed the cupboard. We were fine until you broke the flow, closing.
That was it. That was the thing that derailed us. Leaving the computer and closing the cupboard. Well, because my like with the door, when I was in the old office, my grandmother would be like, "You guys are doing such a great job and everything." One little thing is sometimes that closet door is open and I can't focus because I'm that. So I did that for my grandma. I didn't want her to. Want her to focus on all the wisdom and truth that's coming out of my mouth right now.
Yeah. All lost to the cupboard.
Yeah, hopefully she'll be transformed and changed from her ways.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Love you, Nana.
Yeah. All right. So Jesus. How about Jesus?
Yeah. Let's get into this.
Yeah. So last week, I guess it would have been. I'm a bit disoriented coming back from holidays, but
how's Greece?
Good. Hot. Good food. Time on the beach. It was a great little. There's a little island in the Cyclades called Naxos, which is where we've gone to now twice. And it's one of these islands that it's fairly self-sufficient. So there's a lot of like local produce, and they love, like, they make their own cheese and all that sort of stuff. So it's all like really good. But the island itself is really unique in that it has a whole lot of it's a very mixed geography. So you've got like mountains that you can go hiking in, and then you got like these beautiful beaches with the clear blue kind of teal water around them. And the whole island, like we hired a car and for 5 days, and we drove for hours every single day, just going from different points. And at the end of it, we'd done under 400 kilometers and had gone around the island almost twice. So just give you a sense of like, the size of it. But the roads are like super windy, so you don't get to go very fast. But yeah, it was fantastic. So,
well, if you know how to drift, you can probably go pretty fast.
I didn't mention that to Megan, but she said, slow down.
You're driving being a Fiat. We're not driving.
We really were. We had the Fiat Panda, which is like the most popular car there, and it goes, it putts up some of those hills, but safety first. Enjoy the scenes. It was good. Thanks for asking. But all that to say is then. So I think it was last week was the Feast of the Transfiguration, so we thought we'd spend a bit of time with that today, and looking at it. Looking at it from the Gospel of Mark. So I'll share that with you here.
And we've also lost our ability to record for a long time. So if this video shuts off, that's it. The government, the church, the spirit, something has gotten us, and we are.
Something is fighting us.
Something,
we're not winning. Yeah. So pray for us.
Pray for us.
Well, shall I read today, Derek?
Or I would love you to, Tim.
All right. Excellent. So Mark, the account of the Transfiguration according to Mark. After 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him and led them up a high mountain where they were all alone. There he was transfigured before them. His clothes became dazzling white, whiter than anyone in the world could bleach them. And there appeared before them Elijah and Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He did not know what to say. They were so frightened. Then a cloud appeared and covered them, and a voice came from the cloud. "This is my son, whom I love. Listen to him." Suddenly, when they looked around, they no longer saw anyone with them except Jesus.
Anything stick out to you?
When we were reading it, I was just like, gosh, this is how like horror films start. 4 guys go up a mountain where they're all alone. You're just like, what's gonna happen? I think there's as you were saying earlier on before we were recording, there's the echoes of Jesus' baptism. There's this interesting thing about Moses and Elijah, but I always love like Peter's response. And I think all 3 gospels that have the Matthew, Mark, and Luke all record them as being kind of afraid at different points. And I think it's interesting, it's like when you're afraid of what's happening, Peter's first thing is let's set up, let's set up these tents and make an event of this, and make this a place of pilgrimage. So yeah, wouldn't have necessarily been my first response that I know of, but yeah. What about yourself? Anything?
Well, the first thing is after 6 days, and when we're looking at different versions of this, what was it? Luke had 8 days. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, throw the Bible out. Like it's
contradictory.
Yeah. Done.
Within itself. Yeah.
Yeah. Just. Yeah. Can't trust anything.
Sorry. One quick second. We've thrown out the Bible.
Yeah. Where did we leave off? The other one was the building of the 3 shelters. One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. Nothing about him or James and John. Like, where are they staying? Were they hoping just to bunk in with the guys? Like, there's 3 of us, there's 3 of you. Let's hang out. And baptism part. But I really like, and we can get into this. Please. That's where we go. I really like your frightened thing you were saying about being so frightened, because it's funny that Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Like, he's frightened. There's stuff going on that he does not understand. Like, Jesus is white, came back like Gandalf, and now he's all white and stuff. And Moses and Elijah are there, like guys you would have grown up reading and know everything about, and the pillars of the faith and all that. And he's frightened in here and doesn't know what's going on. But he's like, I know it's good that we are here. Like, even though I don't understand everything, I know I'm a little shy or sheepish. I'm frightened because I don't have all the understanding, but I know that it's good for me to be here. Um, and now I'm thinking of the times in my own life where I wasn't sure what the next step was. I wasn't sure what was going on around. I didn't know what the next step was going to be, or the even the resolve of a situation. But I knew where I was the right place. I knew it was good for me to be wherever I was. I didn't need to know. I didn't need to have all the answers. I didn't need to know what the next step was. I just knew that right there is good for me to be there.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking of like comforting people
Yeah.
and being with people who are going through a really hard time. Like I may not know what to say. I may not be able to fix their problem. I may not be able to, wipe away whatever's going on with them. But I know that it's good for me to be there.
Mm. Mm.
Um, but you can't stay there. The setting up the tents,
Yeah.
wanting to stay in that place. Uh,
Mm.
um, Even like I knew, growing up in the church and stuff like that, it was a big emphasis on, he wanted to. This was a really holy moment, and they wanted to stay in that holy moment and that.
Mm.
But like we were talking about it during our youth events at Bible college and stuff. These really mountaintop experiences, but you need to go back into the valley. Um, but I don't even know if mountaintop is always necessarily the height, like a good feeling, a really awesome place to be. I think sometimes it's that place of uncertainty, um, place of maybe um, not knowing what the next step is,
Mm.
and knowing that even though it's good for you to be there, it's also good to move. Like there's some kind of stepping out in faith or stepping out somehow that has to uh, come after this mountaintop experience,
Mm.
wherever we are.
Yeah. 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 Because I think you're right. Like in that, well, I guess there's loads of things going on in my head as you were talking, which come from everything from like, it's interesting that we growing up, and I know this still happens, but like we pit kind of the mountaintop experience against the valley, as if there's like these two oscillations we must find ourselves between. And yet, Jesus seemed to have no issue with the fact that he was going up to the mountain with his friends and then was going to come back to walk the world. Like it didn't have to be like, a high to a low. It had to,
Yeah,
it was the transfiguration to the ministry of life.
yeah,
And that kind of sense, which again, I think, which is why the language is so interesting, that it echoes the baptism, that it's about, whatever you might think or feel or believe the kind of the end goal is, the empowerment of ministry and the place of calling is about you being where you are with God, right?
mm,
And I think like that, yeah, as you say, would have been really helpful and really healthy to for us growing up. And I even think about some of the ways we kind of do church even now. But how do we hold that tension between when people have moments of real kind of grace or majesty or presence of God? How do we hold those as being like these are moments of transformation and change, but because we still continue on in that kind of day to day, and that kind of we very much like Peter, when we start to get afraid or start to get nervous, we look for that certainty and try to hold that place. But on the mountaintop where things felt good, where things, even if they were uncertain, as you say, you knew where you were.
mm,
Um, but but that kind of that tension for us about Jesus doesn't seem bothered by the fact that, again, his ministry wasn't finished. This was an affirmation of who he was, who God was with him, as he was going on.
mm. Yeah.
Can I can I like throw something completely different in?
Nope.
How did they know what Moses and Elijah look like? Like like you go literally from oral tradition, and some written things, which none of them have descriptions of yeah, of these guys, and they're like two random people appear with Jesus, and they're like, oh, Elijah and Moses, man, like, how did they know?
What I should know this, but it was Elijah that went up in the chariot, not Elisha, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so Elijah shows up on the mountain in a chariot,
there you go. Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, that's him." And then Moses walks in with his staff above his head, like he's
because he still hasn't let his hands down.
yeah, like he's one of the sand people from Star Wars. Just like, oh, comes in, they're like, "Oh, staff."
Yeah.
That's Moses. Oh, that chariot coming from heaven. That's Elijah. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Or
I should have taken that class on be identifying your biblical figures 101. Right?
yeah, there's tons of things you can do like that. Or Jesus was like, "Hey guys, this is my friend Elijah, Peter, John, James,
Yeah.
Moses,
Yeah,
Peter, John, James. Congratulations, y'all met someone cool."
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Snap that hashtag on the mountain.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know what? They all showed up wearing name tags. Hello, my name
uh,
is Moses. And
yeah,
like, okay.
that,
Yeah.
and that's where it all began.
Yeah, that's where the name tag began. Hello, my name is.
Otherwise, it would be very confusing. But I guess, yeah, obviously, I do ask that. Like, it's interesting because I've never actually thought about how they knew.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much the part of the story is that they knew, or it's been testified to, that it was Moses and Elijah.
You know what I'm thinking of is they didn't know up on the mountain, but as they're walking down, Jesus was like he hears them talking. They're like, "Do you know who those guys were? That was Elijah and Moses." And they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
And so when they're writing the story down later, they're like, "Oh yeah, Moses and Elijah was on there."
Yeah. But because like obviously there's and you can imagine that's probably how it happened. And they get down to the other disciples will be like, "You won't believe, we were on the mountain with Jesus. We saw Moses and Elijah."
Yeah.
And then
Jesus was white, glowing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what a light bulb is, but
it was better than that. Yeah.
It was better than that.
I don't know how many lumens he was right now.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Yeah.
You guys know those halogen lights? This guy.
Yeah. But I guess that's the thing is, it does highlight though for us, that kind of that sense of, that the authors have, they have intention with their story, and obviously like the theological intention of this part obviously is that Moses represents the law. It was through Moses that the law came to the Israelite people. Elijah represents the prophets, and then you've got Jesus at the middle, and it's the voice from heaven doesn't say stand on the law, stand on the prophets, and see Jesus as as part of that. It simply says, "This is my son, listen to him." And there's that sense actually for us about kind of said, what is that legacy and what is that history that we're standing on, and how those voices and those characters and those lives are important. But then what is it about Jesus that is different? And that obviously is still the kind of the continual question for the church, these days, as well as as well as kind of later on in later on in like the stories and everything like that. But it's just that kind of continual reminder for us about like what is it that makes Jesus different? Is it just this kind of sense of he fulfills the law, or he gives us laws in new ways we can understand? Is it just that simplicity of or not simplicity, but that kind of sense of the prophetic voice in the midst of the world? Or is there actually something actually continue to be kind of uniquely revealed in the life, death, ministry, and resurrection, ascension, transfiguration of Jesus, that gives us something different to to kind of see and be challenged by.
Well, yeah, I would think that them using the term rabbi in that sentence, I think that would be very, the writer of this would be, I think, using that kind of intentionally as, like he doesn't say, the prophet Jesus or the Messiah, the King, or anything. He uses rabbi. Now, when you're talking about this is my son in whom I'm well pleased, why is the author, or even God, saying this, hearkening back to the baptism? Like, what's going on in this story that ties into the baptism of Jesus? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Everything.
Well, I guess like on a practical thing, maybe, is that something that is like we read it, for us it's this linear thing, right? Like Jesus is baptized, the voice, the dove, he goes into the wilderness and he starts his earthly ministry. Well, the start of the earthly ministry happens, it's at that point that he starts to call the disciples. So that affirmation of himself as the beloved son in whom God is well pleased, until this point, potentially for the disciples at the time, this is the first time they're hearing that, right?
Yeah, because I remember hearing, and I don't know if it says this in one of the other books or not, that this was the Elijah and Moses were ministering to Jesus because he knew what was coming up, that his death was happening. And so they were encouraging him in that. So I was just wondering if, with the baptism, the start of his ministry to the sick and stuff, and then this is kind of not a refresher, but kind of and then his ministry's maybe changing into something else.
I think that's really good. Like, regardless of kind of what the kind of the ministry of Moses and Elijah was there, I think what is true is, is that, like, for us as human beings, that we hold on to our anchor in life if we can hold on to our sense of our identity, and how that identity is beloved, known, cherished, held, not just in ourselves, but in those who we're related to. And that kind of sense, like, for Jesus, as you say, so Mark is 16 chapters. This comes in chapter 9. What's Matthew's 28 chapters, and that comes chapter 17. Can't remember how many chapters are in Luke, but that's Luke 9. So as you say, like, there's, in the narrative, you've definitely got the, you've got an actual kind of sense that time is changing or something's happening, and that, and as you were saying too at the beginning, about that kind of sense of, like, sometimes when you're on the mountain and and actually it's good to be here. That kind of reminder, I think those anchor points for us are really important. And I think we sometimes, we lose sense of ourselves. I look at so many kind of stupid choices I've made over the years.
What?
And they're often it's like this haircut. No, I'm just but, like, and those moments are often held in a context where I feel disconnected from who I am, or I feel disconnected from who I am in relation to other people. And there's this weird sense of, like, just trying to find those anchor points. And I think it's really beautiful, actually, that in this moment where kind of for Jesus, the anchor point becomes, I think, becomes about the fullness of his calling as the incarnate one, to walk the road and ministry of life, of God's presence with people. And it's not about the glorification on the mountaintop, which was one of the temptations of him in the desert as well, right? Just bow down to me and you can have everything you see. And again, this is, a beautiful way of him, in a sense, like recognizing that part of being that kind of beloved called son comes with this place of glory. But the glory is about, as we've talked about before, that glory, that holiness is about the transformation that brings in the places where the glory and holiness is yet to touch. And not about hoarding it for himself on the mountaintop as this, this glowing, beautiful, holy, angelic man, where people can come and visit and behold the wonder. So.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add?
Well, I just noticed the plastic deck chair behind you.
Yeah, I like this room was used for storage a while ago, so I'm kind of slowly.
I thought that was like to represent, like, that's the seat we leave for Jesus
At the table. That's a Christmas seat.
Yeah.
Or or was it Easter dinner? We leave a seat.
That's right. That's right. He's coming back.
Yeah. And then Elijah's chairs in the other room.
Because he just lights things on fire if he gets too close to you.
Yeah, like I'm kind of worried. He did some weird miracles, and I'm like,
And Moses, he's still a bit angry.
Moses, I left Moses out with a bunch of rocks and a sledgehammer. I don't know what's going to happen. That's a Bible joke for you guys.
Yeah. But I think I would just say, it's a beautiful, it's an interesting, and nuanced story, and yet, as you said, I think what you said at the beginning, just that sense of like, kind of where do you find yourself in that relation, not just to the people, but to the location, and can you sit with God where God is, where you feel that it is good to be here, but also have the wisdom and understanding to know what that means for the next steps, whether you see them and understand them or not. So.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was from the notes you sent me early on.
Yeah, that wasn't off the top of my head at all. Yeah, well, I think I'm going to study the Transfiguration a little more this broad, because it's not like it's talked about, but it's not really in depth talked about. Not that I can remember. Like, it's always you can't stay on the mountaintop.
Yeah.
And that's basically it.
Yeah. And that Jesus fulfills the law and the prophets and is something new.
I've never even heard that part before. Really, I'm trying to think of, like, I may have heard 2 sermons in my life, and I'm trying to think of what they were about. But that aspect of it, I don't remember hearing about. So, I think I'm going to have to look more into it, and maybe we'll do a recap video later. Like, this is everything else wrong.
Yeah.
We should have stayed. We should have built the tent and stayed on this Transfiguration idea.
Exactly. Yeah. It all goes downhill from here. But
because I am frightened.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like, as you've got Jesus' baptism.
Yeah.
You've also got echoes of when Mary is confronted by an angel, she's not afraid and accepts the call in. So you've got that preceding. They got this moment of where there's like the physical transformation, which does also remind of Moses on the mountain, when he changes appearance when he sees God, or actually it sits in the kind of the presence of God, which terrifies the Israelite people. And then you've got the reminder of like the next time Jesus is on a mountain like this with his disciples is kind of in the Garden of Gethsemane or in Golgotha. And the response is very different, especially from Peter, who in terror wants to build a monument to Jesus in the one time and just stay here. And the next, he's terrified and running away. There's lots of different ways you can kind of pull it, but the central story, actually, as you say, is quite kind of can be a little bit left behind. So
okay, I think that's as good a place as any to stop.
Yeah, or it could be a worse place, but we'll stop.
Yeah, we'll stop before it gets worse. We'll stop before it gets better. We're gonna leave this mountaintop of a conversation and head down, and hopefully we don't go too far into the valley.
That's right.
So we're gonna stop right here on the.
That's where you find us on your next hike.
Yeah. All right, blessings.
Take it easy, everyone.
We'll see ya. Toodles.